Well, good afternoon, my friends. How's it going? Happy holidays to y'all. It's about a week before Christmas, actually, exactly a week before Christmas. And of course, I have absolutely nothing ready for my kids or my wife or my friends. It's been a crazy year, so it's been a bit of catching up to do. But I was thinking this holiday season about just my gratitude for life and just existence and going over a lot in my head. And I've been, as usual, processing a lot about why things are the way they are and how difficult it is to navigate this world just with our own basic issues that come up, let alone societal problems. And considering the human condition, what we desire as people, that connection with other people. It's such an overlooked aspect of being human. And I don't know, it popped into my head. I was thinking about, I guess, that term influencers. I figure it's been a couple of years since I talked about this. This video isn't about influencers, but rather culture itself and how it affects the psyche of the average person. In my mind, I'd like to think that most folks can look through the bullshit that they, get thrown in their face. But then I catch myself falling into some of it sometimes. You see, like you hear something, you feel a certain way. I refuse to take sides on so many issues. And let's make this very clear. You do not have to have an opinion on everything. I think this is a majorly overlooked, fact that just because something's happening in the world, you don't have to have an opinion or take a side. And yes, you should be allowed to speak your mind if you do have an opinion. These are just basic, very, very basic concepts of, the freedom to think and speak as you choose. Of course, in the year 2023, many of the opinions that are expressed by people are condemned by other people as being, let's just say, hateful, or put any laundry list of the words which make somebody seem like a bigot if they feel a certain way. All that aside, the culture that we have surrounding us is what shapes us. So if our neighbors, if our friends, if our family, and as influencers online, speak about certain topics with a certain tone and express a certain opinion about it, people are likely to believe what they hear from others that they respect. This is very basic human nature. When we see people that we revere as being more thoughtful or more knowledgeable, we're likely to listen to them, the people we would call the experts, right? And many of the times in, let's say, less controversial topics, this is the case. If you want to know how to build a switchboard, or you want to learn how to repair a glass panel that's missing in your window. These are things that you can look up and find out, and experts will have a basic way of doing things. There's not likely to be a lot of conflict among these people about what's the best way to do this. Sure, there will be differences in opinion, but it's not worth fighting over. So people figure out the best way to do something, and then they share that knowledge. When it comes to more, let's just say, inflammatory topics like we have today, these can't be simply summed up in a nice, neat little package of this is exactly what's happening. Talk about even climate change, right? Or racism, or any number of controversial, which shouldn't be controversial, topics that if you bring up, all of a sudden everyone's like, oh no, we're going there. Why? It wasn't always like that. But the influencers out there, which, and when I say this, it's not just people, this is a majority of the online community. Whether they're influencing you to buy products is one thing. But when I say influencer, I'm talking about those like, say, Johnny Harris. He's a YouTuber that worked for Vox before. I watch all his videos. They're well produced. He likes maps. He likes talking about borders. Always had a great show, great production. But I've always been very wary of his content after hearing him say certain things that really seemed aimed in support of certain viewpoints. And I thought, are these his own viewpoints? And this is where we draw the line. This is where it's hard to know if a person authentically feels the way that they're saying they feel, or if they're doing it because they're being paid tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to just kind of skew an opinion on a video that might be watched by millions of people. I consider it compromising integrity anytime a person would do that. And I'm not saying he does, but he has been accused of it. And there have been some videos that have popped up questioning whether or not his videos are propaganda. I still watch him, but I've always watched with a grain of salt, saying what is the angle on this and who's funding it. Now, that's what influencers are. People online who make money through, whether it's directly through promoting ideas or through advertising. It's very hard to know the difference. In fact, a great video from Tom Nicholas the other day laid this out when he was talking about why YouTubers are using microphones. I mentioned this in a previous video. I'll briefly go over it, but a lot of YouTubers that are high production, value channels have been, you've noticed they're holding microphones, even lapel mics up to their mouths. Well, it's because they want to seem more authentic, because they know they have a production crew of probably 10 people helping them out. And the idea is that, believe me, as a guy has a small channel on YouTube who's talked about these things for years, I talk about what I want, and I still find myself self-censoring because I don't want it's not about the algorithm in my case, but rather every week I have a video deleted by YouTube saying, oh, this is unsafe, or this is goes against our policies. Sometimes they're years old. It's just somehow the algorithm catches up to it. And it makes me fearful that I have, close to 5,000 videos on my channel. That's a lot of videos, and if they, it only takes 2 or 3 to get, nailed to get your channel deleted. It's happened to me before. But anyhow, the people who have huge channels can talk about these topics, and they can say the same exact things, but the reason that they're not censored is because there would be backlash and because they get a ton of ad revenue. So what I'm getting at here is that you're getting a biased look at what really is going on in the world through all these small YouTube channels or small media companies, the same way that you did through mainstream media. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I watched the flip to 24-hour news in my lifetime, to where before that it was, you watched the news for half an hour at night and that was that. No, now it's 24 hours a day. Constant bombardment of what's wrong with the world and what's going on, and a culture formed around that. Now, I thought that the culture would be more informed, therefore less, that we'd be able to pull our heads out of our butts and start working together and see the mistakes of our ways in the past. But I thought the perfect example of how that didn't work out is face tattoos. I was just watching some videos earlier. One was Andrew Callaghan. He does Channel 5 News. It's a great channel. He goes to festivals and events and places and just interviews people. Dorky 25-year-old kid with a oversized suit, just interviewing people and letting them kind of express where they're coming from. And there was one at a rap festival in Utah, and I was like, wow, the youth culture. Even though these people only represent a certain portion of the youth, when I was a kid, I went to some pretty rowdy events. But the intellectual level of these kids is let's just say it's depressing. Not just the knowledge of kids, some of these kids, but their dreams and hopes because of how they've been influenced. Face tattoos, when you're a young kid, is horrible. And believe me, I know this shit. I was a young kid. I was a rebel. I was a punk. I have hate tattooed across my knuckles on my left hand. And it's been there since I was 14 years old. I did it myself with stick and poke while I was high on Dilaudid. And I had some shit go down in my youth. I've got some stick and poke tats all over. I understand that people want to feel tribal and with their people. The point is that we didn't inform the upcoming generations that it's not cool to get words tattooed on your face. Whether it's accepted or not in the workplace, it's just gross as an individual to not see at least your face in the mirror. And everyone finds that out. But why this simple idea, why do we continue to do things why is rap still horrible? There's a lot of great hip hop and rap out there. But why are we still talking about guns? Why are we still promoting gangs? Why are we promoting violence and pills? Why do we have rappers named after opiates or, benzodiazepines? And why are they rapping about taking pills and drinking lean? Codeine and cough syrup. Let's do it. What the fuck is going on with this world, when we allow these things to be the norm? But here's the point here. The gangs, the cultures, they're all looking for the same thing, and that's community. I guess a great example would be Juggalos, ICP. Insane Clown Posse has a huge following of people who call themselves Juggalos, paint themselves up like clowns, go and to these festivals and drink and act like fools. But you know what? They have a good time. I went to an ICP show once. I listened to ICP for a long time. I love their beats. I still do once in a while. It makes me laugh. And I remember them shaking up 2 liters of Faygo, a soda, and slamming them on the, stage, and they were going everywhere. And one was shot out into the audience and hit some chick in the head, knocked her clean out. It was just a wild show. I came home just like, wow, that was ridiculous, but I had a good time. Understanding the community aspect is what's important. What is really value in our lives? It's community. It's other people. It's being able to share an experience with people. When we're online, we can't have that experience. We can meet people, but unless you're seeing a person, like I speak to you through a camera, so at least you can see hear the inflection in my voice, but also see the gestures and the way I carry myself to know if I'm bullshitting you. I think that that's value. But when we're arguing on Twitter, that doesn't build any real relationships. My God, I had that for all of 6 months, man. But ultimately, finding the real is what's important to people. All else aside, once your basic needs are met, you're looking for the real in other people and communities that share your version of real. And we've just got to be careful not to build a delusion of what we think other people feel or how we think the world really operates based on preconceived notions that we've developed through the bullshit we've read on the internet. All of us can put our heads down and know that we're guilty. One note here is that within every culture, it's kind of funny. I'll give you the note. I was going to say, well, within all these different cultures, like, say, the Deadhead community, there are smaller cultures. And I was like, well, that would be like a microculture. And then I tried to look up to find a term. Of course, subculture. I felt like a total idiot. Like, it didn't even occur to me. I was like, microculture. Oh, no, subculture. Okay, that's the word I was looking for. Subcultures are like wheels within wheels. So every culture is like a wheel within its larger society, but within those cultures, there are smaller cultures. Conservatives, for example. Not every conservative is a Trump supporter or a racist, but some are. Some Democrats may be Trump supporters or racists in certain times of their lives or certain points in their thinking. Everybody has a different viewpoint. No 2 people think the same way. However, we do tend to congregate in thought groups because it helps us to deal with things. But ultimately, a lot of people are really stuck in the middle and have very neutral viewpoints, something I always try to carry myself as having a neutral as possible viewpoint on everything. I'm careful not to speak on issues that I'm very moved by, like, for example, what's going on in the Middle East right now. I've wanted to talk about that issue, but I don't because I need to be more informed on a specific angle in order to feel like it's even worth me talking about that kind of shit. The best I can do is my philosophy on life in general and my worldview, which is built on all these things that I've learned and experienced in my own life, along with what I've read and what I believe that I understand. So people are very complex on that note, and it's very hard to ascertain exactly what any group wants. This is why when people say something like, "Oh, you voted for it." No, that's not that simple. Voting for specific things, perhaps, but it's very hard to know what you're going to get. It's a mixed bag with politics, which runs a huge part of society. So, in order for politicians and others in charge to implement their power, they use influencers to come full circle here. And influencing campaigns which aren't just promoting even companies, but even individuals or politicians or perhaps countries. A country that would pay somebody millions of dollars to be a sponsor for their country and say, "Oh, you should come here, spend money here, come to Dubai." But, oh God, the worst aspect here is that artificial intelligence is going to dominate this field. If you think that the fact that over half the internet is bullshit and bots anyway, imagine how bad it's going to be when a program can easily sift through and leave comments, human-sounding comments on people's videos, on people's posts, and basically give the illusion that the rest of the world feels a certain way. There's going to be no escape from this. There's going to be no getting away from the fact that a lot of what's said online isn't even believed by the person that's posting it, or might not even be a real person. I think this is good. I think this is part of the solution. We're going to be forced to go interact with one another again in those groups and find that our cultures and our subcultures really have a lot more in common than we have differences. Because sometimes I just want to close my eyes and just give up on the human race. Like, well, we're doomed. We're just, guilty by nature. We feel guilty, rather, by nature. And that we're always going to blame somebody else and point the finger at somebody for our problems. But then I see groups that do work. I see systems within systems that do work. Subsystems that allow us to manage smaller groups of people in a way where everybody feels respected. Everybody feels like they have a purpose within the group. Everyone feels like they're well taken care of financially and able to eat, take care of their kids, go to the doctor, all the basic things you want to do. This is doable. As to whether or not we can do it the way the system we've created, which is so reliant on, transportation, fossil fuels, power, electronics especially, the future could go either way. I won't speculate on that now, but I hold out hope that good things will come our way, and we could have a much brighter future when we look each other in the eye and say, how do you really feel? And we actually listen to what they have to say. So, thanks again. I guess I'll talk to you all next time. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your wisdom in the comments below as you leave a thoughtful, ideal comment that everyone else can share, because that's ultimately what this is all about, is understanding the life that we're living as best we can by sharing ideas. And if you liked it, hit the like button and all that stupid shit you're supposed to say. Patreon, all these other things. Put it in a box and put it on the shelf. Oh, and the sponsor of this video is Yo Mama. No, could be nature. Maybe it'll be trolls. Well, let's just go to nature. It's a beautiful day out there. It's not raining. And that's all I could ask for. Peace out.